Hello, I am JDQG. I'm an artist and a designer. I have been watching a lot of doll repainting videos, and I have to admit I've become very inspired. So I've decided to make a video myself. Now, two things that I am a big fan of are Bratz and Animal Crossing. So I am taking these two lovely boys, Timmy and Tommy, as inspiration and making over some Bratz dolls. So why don't we get right to it? Here we have Roxxi and Phoebe as our volunteers for our project today. Our first step is to use pure acetone to remove the paint on their face, body, and even the hair in this case. I want to make sure that I remove all the paint so that I have a clean canvas to work with. After I have removed all the paint, I have gone ahead and covered the holes in their head with epoxy sculpt. As we know, brats have some luscious lips, but I don't really want my boys looking like they got some fillers, so I guess I'm gonna give them some surgery to look a little different. I first go in with my X-Acto knife and cut off all the excess, well, what I think is excess in this case, and then I use my rotating tool to sand and clean out the areas. Here you can see the difference between the before and after. On the left you can see the big luscious Bratz lips, and on the right there's virtually no upper lip, but that's okay because it gives you more room for design. After making sure that both of their lips look pretty much the same, I realized that their nose was pretty much nowhere to be found, so I kinda shaved up to give him a little bit of a nose. Before I go any further, I want to start on the hat. So first, I wrap the head with some saran wrap. Next, I use this red tape to outline the desired fit for my cap. Then we use this orange tape to shape out our actual cap. I also use a fine marker to trace out our pattern pieces. After I've transferred my pattern pieces to manila paper, I then cut them out of Warbler thermoplastic. I took the heat gun and started attaching the pieces at the seam allowance. Since this is in fabric, the seam allowance became a problem, so I decided to trim it right off. Once I get the shape I want, I attach the visor to the front of the cap. As you can see, the visor still has a seam allowance. It just makes it easier to attach to the cap. Now that my hat is perfectly shaved, I sand it and clean it up. I also clean off any residue with the acetone. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty happy with the way they turned out. Here I'm poking a pin through their head and attaching a string, so I can hang them up to dry after being sprayed with Mr. Super Clear. Now it's time to use my brown watercolor pencil to trace out the eyes. I want to capture the essence of Timmy and Tommy, but I don't think oval eyes would look good with this face mold. After several attempts to draw out an eye shape that I was happy with, I simply was not. So I decided to pull out a photo reference of Harvey. After seeing both eyes together, I decided to use Harvey's eye shape, just a little bigger and a little more cartoony. And the oval shape is applied to the irises. After mapping out where the eyebrows will go, I start filling in the white in the eyes with a white watercolor pencil. On the lips, I start with a light pink watercolor pencil. And go over it with a brighter pink. Making sure I always blend with a Q-tip, I apply pink soft pastel with a brush. And then I draw lines with the light flesh pencil and the bright pink pencil. Followed by a little bit of brown pastel to give it a little bit of depth. Then we use the light flesh pencil to highlight around the lips. Followed by using brown pastel to contour around the eye. Here, I fill in the irises with a blue watercolor pencil. And of course, we cannot do contour with a highlight, so I use my light pink pan pastel to highlight and start building up the blush. After a couple layers of the blue and white on the eyes, I move on to the hair. I first start by mixing these two paints in the colors medium yellow and coffee latte. I want to get a shade that gets as close as possible to the lightest tone on the twins' fur. And once I'm happy with the shade, I move on to painting the hair. After I get a good coverage on the hair, I move on to the eyebrows. Since we're making a human version of Timmy and Tommy, I don't want to give them big dark circles. I want to give them some nice bushy eyebrows instead. I use 3 different shades of brown pencils as well as my light flesh pencil. It's important that I have very sharp pencils so that I can make the hairs as fine as possible. After I am happy with the base of the brows and I have sprayed with MSC, it is time to move on to the black pencil. I use it to outline the eyes, draw and fill in the pupils, and go over the eyebrows to add more dimension. I thought it would be fun to create a reverse ombre on these boys' hair, so I start by using a dark brown pencil to start drawing the dark ends of the hair. Now I use my brown pan pastel to shade and blend in the colors. And somehow I have the perfect shade of watercolor pencil, which I'm using to bring down the lighter color as I need to. For the final step on the hair, I use my darkest brown pan pastel to finish off the ends on the hair. Once the hair is finished, I move on back to the eyes. While I add some highlights and shadows to the irises, I also build up the colors around the eyes. To make the eye stand out more, I use white acrylic paint, which I water down a little first. I first create light reflections and then I fill in the whites of the eyes. With the blue and black pencil, I correct any mistakes I made with the paint. The next and final step is to blush up the body to make it look more similar to the face using the same pan pastels. Here we have our final outfit, which I made all myself, but I made it off camera so we wouldn't make this video too long. For the jumpsuit, I initially planned to do separates, a top and shorts, but then I kind of started thinking about it and thought it would be really cute to do a jumpsuit. So I ended up combining the patterns and ended up with this cute fit. The shoes were also made of Warbler and painted brown. Now they are ready for the close-up. I hope you enjoyed the video and thank you so much for watching.